Okay, we're live. We're actually 2 minutes early. It's crazy. That never happens. Oh wait, hold on. Do that. Okay. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Ballistic Missionaries. So today, normally we start off the show by talking about what stupid thing the Trump administration did this week, but somebody in our neighborhood was cooking really, really good smelling barbecue, and I couldn't concentrate because it smelled amazing. So let's say what the Trump administration has been doing.
Not providing us with our government mandated barbecue. That's one thing.
Yeah. Not cool, Trump.
Yeah, that wasn't in the budget for this year. The fuck, Trump. I did not vote for you, so you can take away our barbecue, federally mandated barbecue.
Oh, well, I guess we could talk about the big, beautiful bill, which is anything but.
I hear he's in the big, beautiful bills.
So the bill that passed the House is going to kick almost everyone off of SNAP benefits and Medicaid, which we are both on.
Oh, come on. It's only $8 million. It's only $8.1 million.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Probably the entire...
Almost the entirety, yeah. It passed the House with flying colors. What a shock. In the Senate, it's due to be coming up to a vote here pretty soon. I'm assuming it's not going to get past the Senate. Just, based on the numbers, I don't think they're going to be able to do it, even just with a simple majority, not even a 2/3 vote. They definitely won't be able to do a 2/3 vote. But
I mean, if they do, Stephen Marsh of Glens Falls, New York, congratulations. You still have SNAP benefits and Medicaid. Everybody else, not so much.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's super fun. Not at all, terrifying and stressful.
We want to start things off on an upbeat.
Yeah, super great. Anyway, so today we are talking about the world of, since it's now the Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, by the way.
Happy.
It's also 3 years since Dan came to live with me, so that's pretty cool.
What's it like been living with me for 3 years?
It's been 90% a joy and 10% a headache when you try to do the dishes and you put things back in the wrong place.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah. What about me?
All good and amazing. No, it's been great. I've always imagined myself, when I first met Sue and started dating, I imagined myself being a lifelong bachelor at this point. I've been I guess 42 years old, 42, 43.
Yeah. He old
and I've had a couple of longish term relationships. So I didn't think it was going to go to where it was now. I mean, I'm glad that it did, but I mean,
same.
Like I said, I didn't expect this to be, the longest relationship I've ever been in my life, and moving up to Altoona, Pennsylvania, and having a great time in the process.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
All right, enough of that mushy shit. Let's get on to some important news and important topics that we need to cover with our 0.4 subscribers.
Nobody's watching. But we are recording it, so hopefully someone will watch it on YouTube later.
All 6 of you. Yes.
So anyway, and as you can see, it is Memorial Day, and I'm here in a long sleeve shirt because the weather is being extremely wacky right now.
Zany. Cuckoo.
Zany even, yes. But is also is the sort of the kickoff, the unofficial kickoff of summer, and that means lots and lots of comic and fan conventions.
Yes.
And Dan has been peddling his books at fan conventions for, what are you up to now?
This will be 23. I started in 2002 at Baltimore Comicon in Baltimore, roughly October of that year. I decided to, I had been attending conventions since I was 11. I want to say some of my earliest ones were in Annapolis and the Old Armory in Silver Spring. And it was definitely an eye-opening experience because, I at that point I'd grown up with like science fiction, fantasy, horror, Saturday morning cartoons, comics, all that stuff, and to walk into a place like my first convention or first few conventions, walk into a place where that stuff was not only not frowned upon but embraced and celebrated. It felt good to be there. It felt natural and right. Despite some of the sometimes creepy old men that were. What about women? They were probably there somewhere. It's like when I started out and doing conventions, seeing a woman there was like seeing a rare spotted white owl or a unicorn or a black gay Republican. It was a thing stopped, and that poor woman would probably be stared at. Yeah.
I've gotten followed around on the convention floor by weird men. That's happened.
A lot of times, not me.
No, it's never been him.
No.
But yes, I've been in conventions where men have followed me around the floor. So I don't know where we're going with it. We're just talking about
we're just gonna talk about it. I mean, well, we can just go back and forth and ask you general questions. What was your first fan experience, I guess?
Okay, so I grew up in a very different way. I grew up in a town of about 1,000 people. Well, 2 towns of about 1,000 people. My mom lived in one, my dad lived in the other. And my father is a crazy person. He's like a crazy religious fundamentalist guy who kind of was in a cult. One of those cult versions of Christianity. Not real Christianity. So, we weren't allowed to, we didn't play video games. We didn't read comics. I think the most pop culture we ever indulged in was, the last couple of seasons of Star Trek Next Generation we would watch sometimes when it was on TV. Yeah, it was weird. So like the closest I came to comics was a bunch of my friends got me into, and Dana's going to hate this, but manga and anime when I was in 10th, 11th grade.
I don't hate manga and anime.
No, I know.
I don't. It's much like other fandom, like the comic, any kind of thing that's indulged in by more than 4 people. It's the fan club that's.
It is the fans suck.
Yeah.
But so like
except my fan club. My fan club's great.
Yeah, his fans are very cool.
Yeah. All the other ones suck.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So I was like I was really interested in art growing up, but damn it, the stream disconnected. All right, it's acting up again. I think it's you.
Oh, so you're at,
when I was here doing the wrestling show on Friday, it was
absolutely no problem. So I'm blocking.
Yep, you're blocking.
I blocked radio and television internet signals. Before I came, Sue had perfect internet. Now
that's not even close to true.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Reconnecting. We'll see if it does. I don't know if it will or not. But anyway, so I had an interest in art from an early age. I had a psychotic art teacher, Mrs. Seymour in elementary school, who made my life hell.
Bad psychotic.
Yes, bad psychotic. She was a bitch. I graduated with her daughter, Kate. Kate is a lovely person. Her mother is just a terrible human being who made me hate art. And my family did not really help because they're like, what the fuck is art? That's not a thing. Nobody cares about that. And kids at school, I was not popular, obviously, as if anybody had any doubt. So, I got pushed around. And about middle school, I had a breakdown after my parents' divorce. I got super, super depressed. I stopped drawing. So my friends in high school, jumping ahead to about 11th grade, A bunch of my friends were really good artists, and they, kept trying to encourage me to draw and stuff like that. So they got me into Sailor Moon, big Sailor Moon fans. And embarrassingly enough, Sailor Moon was the thing that got me back into art. So, and that is what led me to accidentally into the world of American comics via David Mack, who was well known for his series Kabuki, which was an American comic about Japanese characters. So, yeah, so like I didn't have any, that was it. I didn't even go to a fan convention until I was like almost 30. No, when was the first Sci-Fi Valley Con?
2012, I believe.
Okay. And I went to Farscape, not Farscape, the other one that was in the Hyattsville.
Farpoint.
Farpoint? No, the other one that was in Hyattsville. There was another one in Hyattsville. I didn't go to Farpoint. But it was like Farpoint.
Yes.
The same group of people. That was where I got followed around by that guy. And that was the first fan convention I went to. I dressed up as Tank Girl, and everybody was super impressed that I dressed up at my first convention, but I'm a weirdo. I like dressing up.
Cosplay was kind of still in its quasi-infancy.
Yeah, they didn't invite people who were like, look at me, I'm a professional cosplayer, because that's just stupid. Come on, guys. Come on. Anyway, so, like, yeah, I didn't, and then there was Sci-Fi Valley Con, and then that was the first one really around here, other than driving to Pittsburgh, which I don't do because I've ridden with people to Pittsburgh. I'm not doing that drive myself. I just didn't have a community of people to go with to these things, and it kind of sucked. And then I met Dan, and I started tagging along with him at his shows here and there, and it's like, yeah, I'm a crazy person because I can see myself doing this someday, not too far in the future.
Are you, do you say it's different behind the table than it is attending?
It is very different behind the table.
How, from your perspective?
Because I think that when you are an attendee versus being like a vendor, I think that it's, you don't realize the amount of work that goes into getting to that point. I think most people are very oblivious of it. Like, they just want to come out, have a place to hang out, something to do, cool stuff to look at, but I think there's a really huge disconnect between being a vendor and being an attendee, because the attendees there's no concept of how much that goes into that being there, or how much goes into creating your own comic, how much goes into, just designing a booth setup, designing, posters, working on pitches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was a lot. It was, I'm not one of those people who's like, it took me by surprise, because I'm pretty good at, I'm an unusual person. I don't just, get led around by the nose.
Also,
I can pay attention to this kind of stuff and, break it down and look at it from a logistical point of view. It's, so it wasn't like a shock, but it was an awful lot more work than I expected.
Also, like, both of us are on the autistic side and also on the introvert side.
Yeah, that's true.
It kind of, it's trying to push yourself in a place that, like, that seems unnatural. Like, I would say there's like, the last thing I want to do to a large degree is engage me. I'm not saying that the people that I've engaged with are bad. I just, as an autistic person, and B, as somebody that's an introvert, I think I can fake being an extrovert.
I think that it's one of those, that sort of oddball dichotomy of, like, most artists are not good business people and don't tend to be outgoing. They would rather just stay home and draw.
Especially not marketeers, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But you have, business people, who are really good at this kind of stuff, who make no bones about going out, and and so like a lot of artists have to kind of pretend to be that person,
Like a
in
lot of
order to actually be successful. Because I mean, I know other artists who are just like, I can't sell anything at conventions, and they literally just sit at,
heads buried in
yeah, they sit there and draw, and nobody pays attention to them, and it's like, yeah, that's the reason why.
why did nobody buy anything? It's like, yeah, dude. It's like,
You need to tap into that sort of extroverted sort of carnival barker personality, where you're like, look at all this shit I got.
you got like I would say not going so far as like
Not being a booth poacher, of course,
not
but
being a poacher, not being somebody that's going to be, for lack of better words, a dick
yes,
towards other people.
because we have run into them too.
Yeah, but somebody that's got to be like, you're not selling your art to a certain degree. You're not selling whatever you're trying to sell. You're trying to sell yourself to a certain degree. And I know that's hard to do. Like, I don't want to do it. I like, there's a part of my head like, why aren't you, like, your art and your creativity should speak for yourself. And on its own, will find the people out there. It's like, yeah, because you're naturally inherently talented. Well, here's the thing. You're talented, sure, but so is everybody else there as well to varying degrees, and people with varying.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Our internet is down. So I don't know what's going on, but we're not going to be streaming anytime soon. See if I can connect to the 5G. It just says no internet. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, no.
I think we just knocked out the internet or something. Because God forbid it should,
Work the day.
run things once in a while. Like, there's literally nothing else using the internet right now except for us.
I would go with Comcast, but I've heard so many horror stories from people that have Comcast that I don't want.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So basically, we can't do anything until the internet decides to cooperate.
Yeah. I would say the worst. Where were we at?
I don't know. I was trying to.
I guess trying to sell things to people like that. Like, as artists and creative types, the last thing we want to be is salespeople. And I'll say this to myself: I consider myself a good salesperson. I consider myself apt at face-to-face contact, trying to sell my stuff. I would say, depending on the show, if I can get somebody to stop in my booth and hear my pitch and here's my what I have to offer, I have anywhere between a 1 in 5 and a 1 in 2 chance of I'm going to sell to somebody. Like, depending on the event, it's just getting people to stop and engage. And
okay, so it looks like our internet is back up.
Hey,
all right.
Thanks, person that stayed with us.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but all right, we're still talking about fan conventions. I know you missed like 14 minutes of it. So, but okay, so I have a question. Well, I have two questions.
Sure.
This is one question.
Okay.
All right. What thing do you hate the most, and what thing do you love the most about being a vendor at conventions?
What I love the most is when people who have bought my stuff before come back, heap praise upon what I've done, buy some other stuff, and engage with questions regarding my creative process of the show. If all that stuff kind of happens, I'm like on cloud 9 for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love, like, especially if somebody comes back and questions like, why did you make this decision in this book? Why did you do this? Why did you do this?
It means they're really paying attention.
Yeah, it's like I managed to get somebody engaged in what I do enough to want to come back and talk with me about it and support me and support what I do in the long term. What I hate the most, and you could say a bunch of things. Everybody that knows me online, I complain about
top 3.
I know a myriad of things like Funko Pops and obnoxious cosplayers and a myriad of little things that bother me, but in the big picture, the thing that bothers me the most I think, is being ignored. I think that bothers me more than.
That is a big deal.
And it sounds
Hard to deal with.
It sounds on one side petty and childish, and sometimes I do feel like I'm being petty and childish about it. But I mean, on the other end, it sucks when you consider what, but not just myself, that any creative puts into, or anybody just fans at an event, but in general. But I mean, especially your creative types, puts in the effort to be there, to from booth setup, from driving anywhere between 30 minutes and 7 hours, or getting on a plane and going across the country.
So
And
literally to Alaska.
as far as from to California to Alaska, and then I have friends that travel internationally, and the book, the time you put into the books, the time you put into the posters, the time you put into whatever kind of creative end product you have on your table, and people not giving you the time of day, no matter how hard you try to get them into engage, that sucks. That is the worst feeling I think I have at an event. I mean, and of course, you could say it's some of that is dread on the financial side, since this is like my full time job. But on the other end, it's also more, for lack of better terms, existential.
Yeah.
In terms of like you question why you're doing what you. If you have enough of those in a row, you start to question why it is what you're doing. It's and I don't use this term often because I consider myself agnostic, leaning towards the atheist side, but it's a question of personal faith, and I'm not talking about faith in a religion or a religious figure, but just like faith in the path that you set yourself on in life. Yeah.
So it cuts deeply to to the level of like, is this really like what I should be doing with my life?
What I should be doing and who you are and self identity, I think, to a degree. Because there's so much, especially in a creative person, so much of yourself is locked into that creative outlet.
That makes sense. Yeah. And okay, so what made you want to start doing this when you first started, not just as a full time job, like leaving your day job? What made you want to start
shows? I guess because it seemed like when I started in the aughts, I had already for years tried to like send out, I guess, samples of my art and samples of scripts to various companies to varying degrees of no. And in hindsight, I totally get why they told me no, because I was not ready to be working for Marvel or DC. But in my head, at, aged 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever, I thought, certainly they're just overlooking my brilliance and inherent natural talent. So at some point, after.
I think to a point they have.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, I think it was even more so in that, everybody thinks they're the shit when they're. But then they go between what's the. Delusions of brain.
Self doubt when I was
crippling. So I go between the extremes of crippling self doubt and delusions of godhood, and being an artistic type is trying to find the comfortable medium between the two. But back to the point, like I had applied for Marvel, DC, Image, CrossGen. You think of Valiant, like whatever company you could think of that was running in the 90s that had any kind of mainstream presence in Wizard magazine. I tried for it. I went to conventions starting in the 90s with a portfolio in hand. I'm going to tell the story of the first time I showed it to a creative type. It's one of my favorite stories. So I'm about 16 years old, and I have my little 3-ring binder with, I guess, hand type biographies. But I had computer type biographies and a picture of them, and I would take it to shows. And I was at one show at, I believe it was being run. I believe Jubilee Enterprises, something to that effect. And they ran it in Silver Spring at the Old Armory, which is no longer there. I go in and I go to the guy that's in the back. I believe I never said the guy's name up until recently, but it was Don Rosa. Don Rosa is famous for working on Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck, all that stuff.
Didn't he die recently?
No, he's still around.
Okay. I must be thinking of somebody
I was 16 years old. I go to my portfolio, which is full of like my versions of Marvel and DC superheroes, but grim and gritty because it was the early 90s and everybody was doing it that way.
Yeah.
And I threw it down in front of him, and he's going like this, and he goes and looks up at it, and goes back to drawing in his on his sketchbook, and doesn't give me the time of day, says nothing. I walk off, and I am mortified because I didn't get a good review. I didn't get a bad review. I got no review. Like, I was beneath contempt. And for years...
Well, I mean, were you at least polite to him?
I was very polite. I was basically like, could you take a look at this? And in hindsight, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it built that first layer of tough skin, of rejection that you need.
Honestly, you definitely need that. That is the biggest thing. Not to interrupt the story, but like kids who want to do anything creative as an adult, as a profession, like you need a thick skin. You know, I've had people tell me, my work didn't mean, and it was worth absolutely nothing. And I laughed in their face. Mm. But you know what? After that took years to get to that point because like I said, I did give up drawing when I was a kid. I gave up, when I was a teenager, I stopped drawing multiple times. It took me a while to get that skin. Yeah. And these days it's like, I will laugh in your face and probably swear at you or make fun of you or something like that, but it's like, it took so long to get to that point. And so many people, don't realize that, yes, this is the thing that you need. You need to toughen up. You need to believe in yourself before anyone else will believe in you. Yeah. Sometimes. Literally, sometimes you are the only person that believes in you. The people that you care about most, it's like sometimes they will just... I'll give you I guess the southern version is, well, bless your heart. Yeah. Yeah. The northern version, the Italian version, is stop wasting your fucking time with that and get a real job. Yeah. But that is the most important thing I would say for any kid that wants to be a creative. Yeah. You got to toughen up. Yeah. And it feels like a very boomer thing to say. Like, you're too sensitive. It's like, no, people will be horrible to you. Mm. You need to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. Yeah. We're not saying be... apathetic and cold. We're just saying that a lot of people are going to come down on you. Horrible people are going to say horrible shit about you to your face. And you won't deserve it. Yeah. But they'll feel entitled to say it. Yeah. And you need to not let them stop you because they don't know shit. Putting what you have into the world, there are more critics in this world than creative types. That is easier. It's easier to tear down than to build up. Yeah. And don't let people stop you, even if you're the only one that believes in what you're doing, keep believing in yourself. Yeah. Just, kind of build up that skin on your back so that when people try to throw arrows in you, shoot arrows in your back to stop you, they'll bounce off. Now I'll say this on the opposite end, don't be thick-skinned, don't be thick-headed. That's a good way to put it. And on the opposite end, don't be one of those people that considers constructive criticism as a personal attack. That was also, yes. And completely ignore what people are trying to tell you and trying to be helpful. You need to understand the difference between attacks from people trying to rip you down and constructive criticism from people who really want to help you get better,
Yeah.
whether it's asked for or not, you know. But that's part of the growing process as a human, I think, you know. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go back to your.
Like I said, so many years later, I watched a YouTube documentary about Rosa, and honestly, he was like, if, at that time, he said like, you know, he loved comics. He was a comic fan, loved the medium, and much the same way that I am. But I mean, in the early '90s, everything was that grim and gritty thing, and he was trying to make like. He was inspired by guys like Carl, was it Carl Barks or Carl Banks? I believe it was Carl Barks.
Yeah.
The original guy on, big guy on Scrooge McDuck and all that. And that's the kind of thing that he wanted to do. So I'm sure hundreds of other guys just like me were trying to throw, oh, look at my guy. And it's like this guy, but he's dark and brooding and mysterious. And I don't have to blame him for like being the way that he was. Like, I understand it.
It got old.
I understand, like 30 some odd years later, like because I'm in that position now, and I see people come to me like, "Look at this!" It's like a thing that's like inspired by like Sailor Moon and whatever hot manga or anime thing is, or yeah,
Yeah, I was a teenager.
yeah. Or like it's a derivative of Superman, super derivative of Batman. And all I want to do is use the comic medium for something completely different than what everybody else thinks it'd be used for, which is like superheroes and I guess was it science fantasy.
Yeah. But anyway, what's your you had another story about meeting someone.
Oh gosh.
You said there were two.
Oh, sure. Now I want to say the other one, this goes to about the year 2000 or so. This is about a 2 year, no, 2000 because 2001 was 9/11. So this was at Small Press Expo, which was very inspirational for me wanting to get into the business because I started making it a hardcore thing in the mid to late 90s to go to shows and start talking to creative types to learn how things worked. Excuse me. And
there's something about this room that's making my allergies go.
Yeah. I got to see like a bunch of other creatives. Some were very helpful and wanted to give you great advice. Some were, I don't want to say hostile, but very tough love. Tough love. But at SPX, I went there, and the great thing about SPX is, as opposed to like your other mainstream comic shows, is SPX has people that like hand staple little tiny booklets together with the crudest of crude drawings, hand lettered, and they get a Xerox. And
basically think the first couple of issues of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, not
those, that's what I'm saying. Like, those guys wouldn't have been welcome because their comic was too good.
Yeah. I go through SPX, and there were some people that definitely had talent and skill and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that's a talentless skill thing. Like, it's just like I saw that on that most simplistic level, or simple or simplistic level, and I said, I can do that. They did it. I can do it. It seems simple enough. But at that 2001, if nobody's ever heard of a guy named Will Eisner in terms of comic creatives, he belongs on the Mount Rushmore of.
I think people out there don't know who Will Eisner is.
Some.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Some people don't know who Jack Kirby is. So.
Oh.
Yeah. They think Stanley created everything. But Eisner, at that point, I was pretty aware. I can say I hadn't read a lot of his stuff, but I managed to scan through a few things that I thought. I knew he was brilliant, and I knew his reputation, and he was in basically a very small theater room.
Wait, you met Will Eisner?
Yes.
Oh my God, I don't think I ever heard this story.
Yeah. Okay, so
This is the one where he was like, "I like what you're doing, but I can't."
no, this is another story.
Oh my god, I never heard
So,
of it. This is exciting for me.
So this was a very small theater room where he was doing a Q&A by Jeff Smith, of all people, from Bone. I would like to think anybody that's going to a Scholastic Book Fair is acquainted with the book Bone and its creator Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith is interviewing Eisner, and I went in to see Eisner for the same reason I went to see the Rolling Stones about 3 years earlier, because I wanted the street cred saying I saw Will Eisner.
I get it.
And I was fully expecting it. Or back in my day, we used to go and fight octopuses to get ink for our pens, and we used to strip down bark from bamboo to make
had to make our own paper.
and we were thankful. I work for 27 hours a day and made 2 cents a week, and I spent it all on food and more octopus ink. And I was full. The guy was in his 80s, but I was fully expecting to hear a senile rant in that vein. And I respect older people because I'm slowly getting there. Back to point. When Smith interviewed him, this guy knew in 2000 where comics had been, where comics were at, and where they were going. This guy was crystal clear, well read on what was going on, and I hung on every word. And basically, he said things like comics. You had 2 schools that were coming out, like those guys who could draw pitch perfect, everything anatomically beautiful, beautiful backgrounds, everything mathematically proportional, but they lack any ability to tell a story.
For those musicians, this is the Yngwie Malmsteens of the comic world.
Yes. And then on the other side, you've got your other folks that came out of the underground and independent comic scenes. Not necessarily the most structurally perfect artists that came out of there. I believe Art Spiegelman was being told very highly, but people in that vein. But they are master storytellers. Mm-hmm. They know how to use the medium to its utmost extent. Like Scott McCloud is a good talent, but not, I wouldn't say like on the level of say Alex Ross, but he's a master of the craft.
Yeah, he's such a master of the craft that he literally wrote a trilogy of books explaining everything about it.
Yeah. But
and if you ever see one, grab it. If you're curious about making comics in any way, it is great information to have.
But at the end of it, I was in awe of the man, but I liked to go any further depth to walk up, shake his hand, and say thank you very much for an informative. Mm-hmm. And I walked away. And my one regret is I didn't go any more depth to get it. Like I was just it was very one of those eye-opening, for lack of words, like again I go back to faith. It's like it was a moment of revelation, I guess.
Yes.
It was a moment of revelation sitting there and hearing what Eisner had to say, and in hindsight of like being in such a small, intimate space and hearing him talk, that I didn't have to pay like several $100s,
God, that's amazing. That's
and
you're so lucky.
Yeah, and having Jeff Smith do the whole thing on top of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too.
But like I said, I guess getting back to the point though, that's about conventions.
Never mind. Go ahead.
No, okay, go ahead. You got me.
Well, no, I'm kind of getting off the point.
Yeah,
further off the point.
But like I said, I'm talking about going to my convention stories and stuff like that. Like, it is like going to work, but I guess the difference is I love what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you're really the source of what you're doing.
Yeah,
you're not selling something that somebody else made and decided that you should sell.
I could never be
selling like part of yourself.
I'm a great salesman, but it's only in the vein that I'm selling things that I actually believe in.
Yeah.
If it were be at a car dealership and then I had nothing to do with the cars. I don't think I could give it like a tenth of that energy
Yeah.
that I could do with that. Um, that being said, I guess there are good things I love about being at conventions. There are things I don't like about being at conventions. I guess some of the things that annoy me at times.
Oh, actually, that ties in with a question I was going to ask you. What things do you wish that attendees either would do or understood about your work?
I guess in the idea, I think the thing that annoys me about, I wouldn't say just attendees at conventions, but I guess the human condition in general is like, it's a fan community, so they have these standards things that they like. It could be Star Wars, it could be Marvel or DC, it could be anime.
This is me being old now because I'm in my early 40s, but I miss the days when you could just be a fan of something and not have to be a part of the fandom.
Yeah.
Like, I miss just being able to like things and not, be a constant consumer of everything associated with that.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that's a good point. Like, I think it also brings up the idea that things are different. They're not necessarily bad. They're not necessarily good. They're different. I think being a fan of something was a lot more provincial. Like you would at most you would be engaged with your fans and with other fans that were also your friends in debate about something, but it would never go beyond. It was very similar to that scene in Stand By Me where they're talking about like Mighty Mouse and the person. Stand By Me. There's a part where they're talking about.
They keep meaning to. I just never.
Who would win in a fight, Mighty Mouse or Superman or something like that? But
here's but why would they fight? They're both on the side of good.
Yeah, because they're kids. They just want to see things punch other things.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah,
I'm Team Mighty Mouse.
Yeah. But I think so much of it now in the lieu of hyper commodification, hyper consumption.
It's definitely a lot of commodification. Like being a fan has turned into commodification and consumption. Very much so.
Again, to have another pop culture reference, it's that scene from Spaceballs where they
Spaceballs, the flamethrower, merchandising.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, and some people don't have the money to do it, but I mean, I totally get it. But man, some of the people who do, it's like I just see them walk around with like, I guess the Funko Pop phenomenon.
Oh, that's the one. It's like that's the most obvious and visceral effect of this. Yeah. I think
because it's basically a proposal for the five of you who are unfamiliar with the Funko Pop. It is basically this thing in a box, a perfectly cubed box.
It's a little figure made of plastic with a tiny body and a head that's roughly the same size.
It's an immobile bobblehead.
They all have these tiny black eyes.
Dead
tiny black eyes. Like squared off heads.
The hint of a nose.
Yeah. But it's like, and they almost all look the same.
Yeah.
So you can go, if they weren't in the box and it was just like of a normal person, like who was just in like The Walking Dead or something, it would look like they would all look the same.
It feels like capitalism meets cosmic horror, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like because if anything is, again, engaged in more than 4 people in the world, there's a dedicated Funko Pop to it.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like they all look the same.
Yeah.
Like people got me a Funko Pop once. It was the stupidest fucking thing. It was Professor Snape from Harry Potter, back before we all realized that J.K. Rowling was a huge, terrible, god-awful bitch. And it, like, the stupid thing, they don't even stand upright. No. You try to stand them up, their heads are so big, they just fall right over.
So people
I literally stored him upside down until I got so tired of looking at those goddamn dead fucking eyes, I just threw it in the fucking recycle bin.
Yeah. I mean,
ridiculous. And people spend People have walls and walls of these things that they
Yeah.
never take out of the box because you can't, because they can't even stand up.
I'm like,
All right, I'm getting mad.
for me, I sit there and I look at it. How can you enjoy that? There's nothing.
What is there about that to enjoy?
It's beyond the impulse of collecting, a sense of completionism.
Yeah.
I don't
To be honest, I don't get that either.
I don't get like there's a large collecting component to comic conventions.
Very much so. And we are friends with people who are like comic dealers.
I'm not saying
and comic collectors and toy collectors.
I'm not saying it's wrong for them to do it in and of itself.
No.
But I feel at times as I've gotten older, I understand it less.
Yeah, like I don't really get it. I don't think I've ever gotten it. I would never begrudge someone doing it with their time and money, but I frankly don't understand what the appeal is, especially like comic collectors, because they don't read things.
Yeah,
they get the issue, it's already sealed and graded, and they put it in a box and they store the box.
And it sits there.
They don't read the story. They don't look at the art. It just sits in a box.
There's a lot
that makes me sad.
There's a lack of appreciation of the creative and artistic merit.
Yeah, it's all about just, I need this thing. I don't care about anything that's on it, but it has this value and it is part of this series that I have, and
it's a pure. It breaks down to a pure, like art and creativity to a pure consumable.
Yeah,
and again, it's comics. But I mean, comics are meant to be read, and they're not being read. They're just,
and that's the thing that kind of breaks my heart.
But some people get I get it. Some people do get trade paperbacks and graphic novels and stuff like that.
That's what I do. If I want to read something, I usually just reach for like a trade paperback.
But I want,
because it's like I want to read it. I don't want to have 10 issues of this story sitting here individually packaged that I'm not allowed to look at. That would drive me absolutely crazy.
It sits there and takes up space for no reason.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I think it's where I identify more with the millennial, especially the Zoomer aesthetic, is like
minimalist.
Yeah, I think I started in 2009, and by like 2018, I think I completely broke away from that whole collector's side of it. That whole I have to have all of this, these things in order
to be happy.
A sense of completionism, and like I feel better in the long run, but I feel like that aspect of going to conventions for me is gone. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's a matter of fact. But now I kind of see people go to conventions. I do that thing and engage in that activity. I almost look at it with the sense of like either an anthropologist or a sociologist.
Yeah.
But
I think there again that comes from being autistic and curious about the world.
Yeah.
That we tend to look at people like that in that way.
Well, I just look at people engaging in that activity, and I'm fascinated by it, but I find it also strange and it's extreme, highly repulsive.
Yeah, same. Same. Like I said, I begrudge no one for taking part in this. But
when the extreme of that behavior is engaged in, it seems.
Yeah, it seems to devalue the entirety of, the things that we're supposed to love so much.
Yeah. Like they forget the stories themselves. They forget the creativity in the persons that went into making those things in the first place, and it all just kind of breaks down to, here is the thing. I must have everything of this thing that is around, or else I'm not
truly a part of the fandom.
And again, it just.
But I mean,
that's the way I see it. I'm sure other people see it the way, but that's the way I look at it. Going to.
And it's our podcast, so we can think about it that way if we want to. If you don't like it, leave us a comment. Seriously, please.
Come on, leave comments. We want to respond to comments.
But I think that kind of ties into your whole sense about getting rid of fan art on your table.
Yeah, when I first started, I had a little bit of fan art, and then like the fan art grew into like sketch cards and fan art posters and varying sizes of fan art posters. and sketch covers. And again, I do not berate or find lesser than anybody that has fan art that's their main thing. That's what they do. They have fan art posters, giant walls of them. That's fine. Like business sense wise, it is the absolute smartest thing to do. Mm-hmm. Like there are people that make boku bank, like going to shows and having things over there that are fan art related, and that's what people are looking for. Like you are fulfilling a need that they came into. I, on the other hand, am coming in with creator like with rare exception, nobody's coming in exclusively to look for creator-owned stuff, especially like creator-owned comics and things they've never heard of in their life. And that's not what I'm saying. Those people are bad. It's more of a statement of fact. That being said, another story. I guess this was like 2017. I think about 2014, I started having feelings about like, man, why am I doing all this fan art stuff? Um, it doesn't fill any kind of hole or any kind of aspirations, artistically or creatively, for me to produce. Like I was doing it. By the end of it, I felt like I was doing it strictly for money or strictly for. And again, like there's nothing wrong with like wanting to use art to make money. Like I still do that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a question that everybody in that position has to decide for themselves.
Yeah, really. But I think it's a matter of like you go and you do like I said, you do conventions. You run into people that like when they see them when you're trying to pitch them your book and they buy your book that you create your own stuff, you know they did it because they heard your pitch, they liked your idea, and they wanted to check it out. Mm-hmm. It's all about
they flipped through and they liked your art.
They bought you and what you're doing, and that's a great feeling. But when you're selling fan art, and this is me saying this. This is not everybody else. Although I've talked to a few other people that have similar outlooks. For me, um, it's always when somebody buys a piece of fan art, it's me sitting there wondering how much of it is because they like my style and they like my approach to the character and they want to see my version of whatever it is that they like. How much of it is they're just looking for anything that fits into that collector's impulse for whatever it is. They're a Harley Quinn fan and they got everything they see at a convention that's Harley Quinn or Batman or whatever anime or manga that they're into, or whatever comic or movie or Star Wars thing that they're into. And I always hope it's at least 51% of the former and 49% or less of the latter.
But how can you tell?
I think the biggest one is when I would go and I look at the bag. If I could get a glance of what's in the bag, and if I see like a bunch of Batman stuff, I know it's because they just saw that I had a Batman poster or a Batman sketch card or sketch cover, and they had and I think
and then the people come over and I've because he was still selling sketch covers with other people's IPs on them, and I remember people would come over and look at it and think that like it wasn't just like a one-off specialty thing, and they would just be like,
angry that I was charging
what
so
is
much
wrong
money
with you? Why are you charging? Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like you didn't work on this. What? It's like, oh my god, dude.
And I hear that over and over again. So I must say I had a bit of a meltdown by 2017. I was doing a show and like people go up to me and say, "Do you have this? Do you like?" They'll look at my fan art. Like, "Do you have like one of like Moon Knight in this rare costume he wore in 1978?" It's like, no. It's like, well,
why would he?
You would make if you had, you make a ton of money if you do. It's like, let's back up a little bit and analyze what you just said and realize that none of it makes sense.
Yeah. Also, like, if you want him to draw you a Moon Knight in this weird costume, all you have to do is pay him money for a commission.
Or in a rare instance where I said, I totally know that one. Like, that's nice, and then walk away.
Or that too, yeah.
And I got a lot of that this particular weekend. I was at a show in Tyson's Corner. I was with a roommate that I was living with at the time, and we were who was also an artist. And at the end of the day, I think I made $5 over cost, and I had struggled to make every single sale, and I was exhausted, and I was angry, and I was bitter, and we were driving home and I started talking about it, and she turns back to me and she's like, "Do you want my advice?" It's like, "Yeah, I appreciate your advice. I value it." And she just told me, "I was like, get rid of the fan art." It's like, okay. It's like, yeah, get rid of the fan art. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't like this is not what you want to do. You've been railing against it for years.
That sounds right.
You you get more joy out of making your books, making your original material. Concentrate on that, and you're going to have a harder time trying to sell it to people, but you'll be happier when you do. And I slowly, over that time, slowly started to get rid of everything. I got rid of sketch cards right away. I got rid of posters right away.
Sketch cards are a trap. Anyway.
Sketch covers took me a little while longer. I still commit, like, if someone wants me to do a commission or something, I'm more than happy to do it for them because I feel that's a one-off thing. Like,
Yeah, and you're literally hiring
you're hiring
you as an artist because you like your work in order to do this thing that they want.
There's a certain amount of commitment to who I am and what I do by somebody who commissions me that makes it okay in my head, and so it's something that I can do.
Yeah, no, it's very different,
and I appreciate that when people do, and that's why I keep doing it. But if it goes to like, in terms of like mass producing fan art stuff, I think there's some brilliant fan artists out there and do incredible work. But for me and only me, I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I don't regret the decision that I made at that point 8 years ago.
That's good.
But I guess any other things about the convention scene that I like or don't like? I guess we can go into.
I know we kind of got off onto a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, I guess we can go into a scene that if anybody if this winds up being on any kind of news outlet, it's gonna suck. Is like I guess cosplayers.
Okay, so I know a little bit about this. I started sewing when I was about 11. I have two grandmothers who went through the Depression and were poor. And well, one was the child of poor immigrants, the other was the child of poor farmers. And so, yeah, you learn to do things when you grow up in that environment. So I started sewing when I was 11. My mom sewed, both my grandmothers sewed. And I took an early interest in like theater. That sort of morphed into Ren fairs, just, Halloween, obviously, it's a big one. I should post our pictures. We were serial killers last year and movie killers, and not like Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, we could dress up as Jeffrey Dahmer this year. That'd be fun. But anyway, so like so I love costuming. I was a theater nerd in high school and college, and I got really into like going to Ren fairs. Again, it's a weird area. We don't have a lot of that kind of stuff, so I didn't really get a chance to go a lot. But so whenever I got the chance to start going to shows, like, oh yeah, I'm going to dress up as people. The first cosplay I ever made for an actual convention was Tank Girl. It was a pretty cool costume. I look cool. I revisited that costume a few years after that because my brother let me he had a bandolier for some reason. I don't know why, but it looked perfect for the costume. Anyway, so it was just, I like costumes. I like dressing up in weird things. And, I also dressed up a few years after that. I made a Sue Storm costume, which looked amazing. If I do say so myself. In fact, that was the convention that Dan and I actually met for the first time. And do you remember I was dressed up as Sue Storm?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That was good. Anyway, so like cosplaying, it was just kind of an extension of all of this other stuff. I liked making costumes. I liked wearing costumes. If any of you have seen my cooking show, you'll know that I still sometimes dress up in weird ass costumes for the hell of it. But I never, felt compelled to enter like a cosplay contest or anything just because I didn't do it for outside gratification. I did it just because I loved doing the costuming. And then all of a sudden you turn around and it's this thing now where it's like a professional thing where it's like you have to, there are professional cosplayers out there. And
it's a primary endeavor, I guess.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, something that somebody engages in as their thing, the thing they do.
Oh, I guess so, yeah. And there's like, all of a sudden there's like way less. They're professional cosplayers giving like talks at conventions about how to be a cosplayer.
And they're getting tables at shows.
Usually for free. Yeah. It's bizarre. Yeah. I don't like it. Like it's not fun anymore. You guys made it into like a job. It's not fun anymore. That's my take. You can all send me nasty emails. I don't give a shit.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Like
But that's the thing, though. That's being on the other side of the table. Being behind the table with Dan, it's a whole different experience because cosplayers, they never sew pockets into their costumes, so they can never buy anything. They make these costumes, usually they buy the costumes already made, and then they go out to conventions. They're like, I'm the center of the attention here. It's like, no, you are an attendee at a show. There are other people who require actual attention because they are working here. Go ahead.
Sure. I have people I consider friends who are cosplayers, and they're great people, and I like hanging out and interacting with them. There's a cosplay component of the show that I work at, and
you're responsible for bringing in.
If anybody ever comes up to me and says, like, you hate cosplay, you don't do anything to support that, I'm like, dude, I'm the person probably most responsible. And I'm not saying this to be like, like a swell head or or a massive ego. I'm probably one of the people most responsible for kickstarting the cosplay scene in Richmond, Virginia. Like, that was probably me. Like, basically the story goes is like, I was brought in by the guy that owns the show to bring in people for Artist Alley, and eventually
Brett?
That would be Brett.
Oh, our friend Brett.
Yeah,
runs the show. He's cool. Hi, Brett.
Hey, Brett. And over time, I kept bringing more suggestions, and one of them is like, I noticed some people were dressing up at the show and cosplayers, and I told Brett, like, hey, can we do a cosplay contest? I've kind of seen it at a couple other shows. I think it's a good idea. I think it'll bring more people in. And he was at the time, he was pretty ambivalent about it. He's like, well, if you're going to run it, you can do it. You're totally on your own. You're going to have to get the prizes, which I basically went around to like various people at the show. And like, if you want to give something towards it. And it just started out like that. And at first it would be like 10, 15 people that would show up in costume and a few people that would watch the contest. And within a year or two, it grew to like anywhere between 100 people or a couple hundred people coming in. And I think it grew, like, being that we were the only comic fan show in town at the time, that I was pretty much like, again, I don't want to seem like an egomaniac or anything like that, but exactly. I think it's no understatement that I was pretty much like, you want to say there's a guy that was the godfather of Richmond cosplay, it's me. It's definitely me. So I have an appreciation. I'm a huge Halloween fan. We're both huge Halloween fans. I love the idea of dress up. I love the idea of like people like hand make their costumes and put all the effort into it.
He dressed up as a zucchini monster for my show.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I enjoyed that aspect of it. I enjoy the the artisan and creative aspect to it, and I enjoy the fun, the having fun with it aspect of it. Um, and there are definitely most cosplayers are anywhere between fine and good to deal with. Some of them actually buy my stuff, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
There,
No. Most cosplayers are fine, but
there is
there is a contingent that is not.
there's a contingent that like other cosplayers that engage
Terrible.
and bad behavior that is indicative to that subset of the community.
Yes. Also, a different subsect: annoying teenagers or early 20s anime fans / cosplayers. They're usually pretty annoying too.
Yeah, but with the cosplayer thing, I guess the particular ones that bother me are the ones that will sit there and start to and basically like do impromptu photo shoots in front of your booth.
Yeah.
And not be totally oblivious to like I'm trying to
sell things.
I'm trying to sell things and make money to pay my bills.
And you are literally preventing me from like feeding myself tonight. Okay.
Yeah, like there are times that I've been a show so bad. It's like, man, I'm going in with no money that I'm like basically I gotta make enough money to like I can at least get something off the dollar meal before going to like my little super rate motel to crash at for the night. I've had those nights and they suck. And you're not doing anything to make things better. Or I guess like this is more of a general thing, like an attendee things that annoy me. Like for example, like attendees will go and walk up with like their like either their food they have in the shows or their gear or whatever, and they'll just
drinks
and throw it directly on your booth and start talking to each other or doing whatever they're doing, ignoring it. Like this is my booth. Like no,
yeah,
like you take that and go somewhere else. Like
there are tables somewhere in the convention center.
There are,
go find them. Yeah. This is not them.
Yeah. I'm not here to be here. Or like people actually leave their stuff like, can you watch this for me? Like, I don't know you. Like I'm not well enough to be responsible for your personal belongings. So.
And it always drives me nuts because you always encounter the worst, most obnoxious people when I'm not at shows with you.
Yeah.
Or when we're at a show where it's like a small show, or like Free Comic Book Day, where you were hosted, but you were hosted by a really great comic store out in Pittsburgh. And I was like, I'm not going to cause a scene, but this guy was being a dick. It's like, I never get the chance to go off on these assholes. Yeah. I really want to. Oh,
sometimes I do too, but I feel like
I don't want to cost you a sale or anything, but
I mean, on top of that too, like reputations. I have a lot of appreciation or like of my reputation and like I like people's. It's a smaller community than you think, and like
it really is.
And a bad reputation gets around quickly. So yeah. I don't want to go and leave bad taste in showrunners' mouth because I work the other side too, and I don't want.
That's true.
I don't want to be that.
Like I'm not gonna like beat him up on the show floor like I'm Lou Ferrigno or anything. No. I just I just make people cry a little bit.
Just want to make them cry and pee their pants a little bit, and that's fair.
What's so much to ask?
I mean, legally, no. I mean, I think there's a word for it, but
no.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, Deadpool cosplayers.
Yeah, they're the
Joker cosplayers.
But Deadpool ones, I'd say I'm sure they're good members of this community. To be fair, I'm going to be fair, but. On par, my experience is my top 3 worst ones for me. Oh, I'll say top 4 is number 1, Deadpool cosplayers, because they tend to followed closely by Joker cosplayers, because they tend to inhabit the character to the point
where you just kind of
like they have no.
Do things to them.
Yeah, they have no inkling that murder.
No self-awareness.
Yeah, no self-awareness is like the fact that their murder is 3 feet away from them, or when they grab like they'll go off on like their little scale, and again, it's like right in front of your table, I don't feel like engaging with them. It's cool. I like your costume. Please move on.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn our cosplayers are kind of like that too. But I also, like you were mentioning earlier, a lot of like, especially teen anime cosplayers are kind of that.
They feel very, to me, they feel very like, not narcissistic, but very self,
engaged in their own little world.
they really are like, oh, look how cute I look. Look how cute I look. They're honey. There is a convention going on around you. Okay. You are not the center of all of it. Go away.
They ultimately seem like the 80s teen girls stereotype.
Yeah,
oh my God,
they do,
Becky,
yeah.
you look so cute in that outfit.
My God.
Yeah, it feels very much like that anytime I see a group of them engage with one another. Oh,
Oh my God, look at you. Oh, you look so cute. Oh my God. Where did you get that from?
and
Oh, I'm sick to my stomach now.
yeah, and
Also, teenagers, brush your wigs. Buy wig shampoo. You look like you just rolled out of bed. The poor wigs, they look terrible. Where did you get them? Come on, guys. Did you have them balled up?
they're poor.
Just brush them. For God's sake.
A lot of them are, to be fair, a lot of them.
Proper wig maintenance. I don't care if they're cheap. Just comb them. Oh my God. Anyway,
They don't comb their own hair.
they don't comb their own hair. That's true. How much can you expect?
Like a wig that they bought for like a couple bucks at the dollar store
Yeah.
during Halloween. Like,
It's like
close enough.
the costuming theater nerd in me is just like appalled. I just want to rip it off their head and just brush it out.
You don't get to wear this until you learn how to use it properly.
Thank you.
And then and you're like, oh my God, I've become my parents.
Oh my God, don't say that.
I become some generic parents.
Yes, that's fine.
I become an old person.
I mean, I don't mind the comparison to my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one, not so much.
Yeah, anyway.
But,
Or my stepdad.
yeah. I don't hate all cosplayers, but there are certain bad elements within the cosplaying community that have behaviors and patterns that are indicative to bad cosplayers. And I've noticed it over and over again, having set up at hundreds of conventions.
That kid with the, what is it? The air-powered keyboard. What is that called?
Ocarina or whatever it was.
No, not an ocarina.
The thing that the guy on Stephen Colbert plays.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's an episode of Bob's Burgers where Teddy was babysitting and
It's like a mouth organ.
yeah, it's like you blow into it but it sounds terrible most of the time. And this kid was literally just standing at Dan's table for like 5 minutes, just playing this thing off key. It took so much self-control not to just hit the bottom of it.
Can't get out of his hands, throw it across the room.
Oh,
on the ground and stomp on it until it is no more.
what is wrong with you people? You're not performing. You are attending a show
I mean, unless you're
to meet people and buy things.
I think another one that's kind of in that same kind of vein. You gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Are people that come in and cosplay and then have like a little portable music, like boombox thing going on,
Yes. The musical cosplayers.
where they're dressed like an Iron Man. They're gonna have the like Black Sabbath music playing at full volume,
Yeah.
or AC/DC, or
Yeah, there was a guy at the last Sci-Fi Valley Con where he had like an actual like it looked like a small amp speaker, like the size of a small amp on his back.
and playing at full blast, and
Yeah.
nobody ever stops him. And it's like
What is wrong with you people? Who thinks that's a good idea?
Yeah.
If you want to perform, we have a local theater group, okay? Then everyone will pay attention to you and not want to murder you in your sleep.
It's like a street mime that keeps following you around.
Yeah.
Except I'm behind a table and I can't get away.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes.
but again, like they're like,
that's why you need like a water sprayer, like for cats. If they start getting annoying, just spritz them in the face.
that would be extra funny with the ones with electronic music devices.
Yes.
That would be an added bonus. Right there. I think you're a little too happily engaged in this
Yeah.
concept.
See, I don't have my own table yet. I don't table at conventions yet, and I have a feeling that I won't be doing it for too long.
No, before you're like banned from this.
We're banned from all this.
You're banned from the Eastern Seaboard. So people are like, did you bring your wife with you? Like, no, I swear I didn't. Like, what's that in your bag? Nothing.
There's no one here.
No one here, senor. But yeah, I guess there's certain like generic attendee things. Like I always hear the one people are apparently pissed off about our BO issues.
Well, that's been a long running joke though, because it's like I think it stems from like you know, like, oh, you're just nerds, you live in a basement, you have bad hygiene because you're like losers, so now you're all out and your collective BO is terrible. But the thing is, it's like nerddom is mainstream now. And not all nerds and geeks back in the day didn't know how to shower.
There's definitely some. There's definitely an element there that like. But here's the other thing.
There's one guy around here. Oh my God, you can smell that guy coming because he smells like he just shit his pants. I didn't see him last year, thankfully, but you could smell him coming.
I could.
But for the most part, honestly, like,
yeah. I'll tell you.
I have a really good sense of smell. Almost everyone smells a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not that much worse at most fan conventions.
I'll tell you something though. The ones that bothers me more are those that like over scent themselves.
Yes.
Like either Axe body spray or some sort of hideously cheap perfume, cologne. Where their smell precedes them.
Yeah, like the perfume cloud that surrounds them.
Because like at least with the BO goes away. It was fine. Like that thing leaves a taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, we wear masks at shows, and you can still taste it.
Like
it's that bad.
It's hideous.
It's terrible.
It's like just take a shower and put on like a minimum amount of deodorant, and you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to. Again, I don't need to be able to smell you. I smell and taste you before I ever see you.
Yeah, exactly. But Did I already ask you what you wish people would realize or understand when they come to a show?
Yeah, I think we kind of covered that for the most part. I guess there are other aspects of conventions.
Do you have any questions for me?
Sure.
Not that I'm, as knowledgeable as you, but
what was I guess your experience tabling with me at the first show you ever did? What was your takeaway from that?
I thought it was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and it was tiring. My back hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I have hip problems, so I basically was waddling around with my cane all weekend because it's hard being on those floors.
Yeah.
I did not expect how tired I would be afterwards. It is very tiring. And it's also, there's infuriating things about it. Sometimes dealing with people is really infuriating, but no, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. All in all, bad, good, whatever. Plus, the first year that I tabled with you, we were across from the guys at New Dimension Comics, and they're awesome.
Yeah, New Dimension is great.
Got to meet John and the other guys from New Dimension, and that was pretty cool.
John and Todd run a great show.
You know what?
Run a great show. I'm gonna be at Three Rivers in a couple weeks. It's a great show. John always goes and put make sure that I have a good spot and always takes care of me. Has me set up for Free Comic Day, which is great.
They're great people.
One
thing that I would like to mention though, because you said about it being a very small community, and it is, but it is a wonderful community. Like, I've met so many people, like the Fogels who run Crypto Theology, Dawn Griffin, runs the Dog Griffin Studios, I guess.
Yeah.
Chris Flick, who runs, help me out here. It's Roy the Werewolf.
Yeah.
It says, and Capes and Babes.
Capes and Babes, yeah.
And I've gotten to meet like so many really amazing, cool people.
Yeah.
Just tagging along with him at some of the shows, and just social media and being allowed to be a part of this world, and just there are that I think that is one of the best aspects. Is like it's such an amazing community of people. It's like you are all technically in competition with each other to sell things to people, but
it's never malevolent or malicious.
No, absolutely not. It's quite the opposite, actually. People, people help other people set up. They help them tear down. They get change for them. They run and get food if somebody needs somebody to look after their booth because they have to go to the bathroom or something. Help take pictures of their booths for them. While put them in the picture, take pictures of them. It's such a nice community, and such just like very, very cool people I've gotten to meet. And that's been the best part of this, really, for me. Like, just, and it's kind of neat because, there's a 3-day show here, Sci-Fi Valley Con. And it's really cool because it's like Saturday and Sunday you come in and, you're there before everybody else, all the attendees and stuff, and you're setting up and kind of wandering around, and you walk around and you get to know people, and, you say good morning to people that are in your section, and it's almost like you're, coming into a little, you live at in this little area in this convention center for the weekend, and this is like your neighborhood of people, and then you go to a different show, and these people are still there. George, our friend George, PND Studios, I should mention him too. Oh my god, I can't think of anybody else. But and it's such a nice community of people, very welcoming. Like I felt very welcome, just assisting Dan and stuff. Like everybody's great, and they help you with information. Like like the Fogels, who run Crypto Geology, I mentioned them before. I was asking them about T-shirt manufacturing, and it's like I learned so much. Like he took the time out of his day to tell me all about this, about how the process is by which he gets these shirts printed, and he gave me information on the company and stuff, and it's like it's very much like that. As people, you're all selling to the same crowd, but you're all very much like almost like a family.
Almost nobody ever goes through and guide thing like it's carefully guarded trade secrets.
Yeah, and that's the thing with artists though in general. It's like AI. The thing that drives me nuts about AI enthusiasts, not to get off the subject here, but they're always like, traditional artists are gatekeeping. And it's like, I have literally never, ever met an artist. And I know a lot of artists, comic artists, pinup artists, fine art artists. Like, I've known a lot of them, and I've never, ever run into one that was like, if you sincerely ask them for help on something, they're just like, no, I can't tell you that. Are you crazy? That's the secret to all of my success. It's like there are 1,000 artists out there, thousands of artists who have, videos on YouTube, on TikTok, who have websites showing their techniques, helping people to learn things. And it's like that. It's like that at conventions too. It's like there's no secrets to this, kind of a thing. It's like, we want people to be this way. We want people to be fulfilled.
Nobody wants to see anybody fail.
Exactly. Yes, that is it. It's a very welcoming community.
If you're an asshole to everybody else, yes, we want to see you fail.
Because, like you said, like reputation. It is a small, tight knit community, and reputation is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I got lucky because I got introduced to this by a guy who has just a stellar reputation, who everybody considers to be amazing.
Yeah, who's that guy?
I don't know. I forget his name. Yeah. But so I kind of got off on a really good foot with a lot of people, and I'm very lucky for that. But so it's like if if you are a dick, if you take advantage of people, word will get around.
Yeah. There are a few I know of in the industry. Not a lot, but a few that are pretty much ostracized now. But most people are good. They're kind. They're more than willing to share any kind of information they have about what that they know about the business. If there's any gatekeeping going on, it's mainly by large scale companies like Marvel and DC or like that. But by artists themselves, they want you to succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I also was saying back earlier, like you were talking about the exhaustion thing. It's like I ride on what I like to call a convention adrenaline, where it kind of it's there for most of the show, and then it lasts. Depending on how well I do, is usually like if I have a great show, it could last like 3-4 hours. If I have a bad show, it could be like as little as half an hour. It'll wear off, and I'm like, just especially on a multi-day one, like say like a Sci-Fi Valley or
it's like 28 hours.
Yeah,
time on the.
By the time you're done with it, like you have you're extracting enough energy to get home, get something to eat, and then
crash
hard.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm only giving the perspective of where I'm at. It was so many years where I was an attendee, and then most of my adult life has been as an artist, creator, and vendor, with some of it being behind the scenes, helping to run various conventions from the side of the country to Alaska. So I like to think I have a wide and varied perspective, and I at least allows me to a certain degree to be understanding of other groups that don't necessarily come to shows for the same reason that I come to shows. But I hope if anybody walks away with this, it's an understanding like, hey, next time I see somebody at an event, like this is what I would like anybody who watches the show who is not a creator or a vendor, go check out those like I know the Funko Pop booths. I know the big collectible booths and all these other things are super interesting. And I know that
you get into the convention center and you're like a magpie
and you're like, ooh, shiny thing, ooh, shiny thing, ooh, shiny thing.
And you're there for that one specific thing that you love, and that's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. But I hope you find it.
It's equivalent like don't be that tourist that just goes to all the bright and shiny things.
Yeah.
Go be a quote unquote like Anthony Bourdain. Be that guy that goes off the beaten path. Find that weird thing that's different and unusual.
Because you might be
hopefully it's me, but I'm glad if it's anybody else that fits that.
You might be surprised how much you like it.
Yeah, like that's what my takeaway from people who are watching this particular episode and go to Comicon fan shows. Like, if you are truly upset with or disaffected or bored with the norm and everything out there, there's plenty of things there that are different, that are unusual, that could possibly like. And I get it. You're afraid. I think a lot of people are afraid to be disappointed and annoyed in a new and unexpected way, especially with something that like doesn't have a large fandom of other people that are pissed off about the same thing that you are. There's not like if somebody's pissed off about buying one of my books, there's not a lot of people out there that go like, oh man, he used to be about the comics, now it's all about the money. It's a
that's it.
Now he's
changed, man.
Now he's a sellout woke little bitch that works for the establishment for big Hollywood, sucking on all the collective left nut. Which one can only hope and dream.
Someday.
Cross my fingers.
Hello, Netflix.
Netflix.
Pay attention.
I've got all I want is $70,000. I think that's fair. I just want enough to where like we can like fix things in the house and buy the adjacent property and God willing get a goat for my wife.
Sheep. I want
sheep.
a sheep.
I'm sorry, a sheep.
I'll take a goat too.
God, you're so mean.
But we should also mention that we're having a bit of equipment troubles at the moment, but Dan is starting a TikTok talking about all of the annoying people that he has to deal with.
We tried to shoot a first episode. Apparently my phone is not good at shooting stuff. stuff. So we're going to try a camera in the near future.
Yeah. We got to just find the time to start shooting, but got a lot of episodes in the can. And if you're still a little fuzzy on what we're talking about and need some further guidance of how not to act at a show, I think the TikTok can help you with that.
Yeah. Eventually it'll be out, and
and we'll keep everybody updated. But
it'll be part of it. And like, if you're watching this and you find it good, please go to my website at www.21sandshark.com. I have a Patreon. I have a coffee account. I have
hell,
a web store.
You can find us on Facebook and Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And we'll point you to the right direction.
Yeah. Like I have stuff on there. Like if you want to buy a PDF download of my books, there's as little as $5. Like that, I think that's a hell of a deal for anywhere between 100 and 400 page book out there.
I'd say so too.
Yes. But I think that basically covers all my.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good. It's about 5, so. Yeah, all right.
Hopefully it doesn't for dinner. It's probably going to smell more like barbecue out there.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I love Indian food.
Yeah, it's Indian night on Mondays. Of course, we also had sort of Indian night last night too, because I made yellow rice that a friend of mine introduced me to, taught me how to make. So we're having a lot of Indian and a lot of rice this week.
Yeah,
it's been pretty good.
It's going to be a very heavy rice week.
Yeah.
It's going to make me miss potatoes.
Oh.
My potatoes are in the meal.
There's potatoes in there. That's all the starches. That's so good. Anyway.
But hopefully we've educated as well.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a little less bleak than last week's episode.
We're in a better mood. Like, even though I talk about things that I feel negatively towards in the whole Comicon industry thing. That overall, like, if I felt I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't be doing it. Like I'd use it as a way to get my books and art in the hands of people that I might not have a chance of doing otherwise. It's a good way for me to meet, hopefully other like-minded people in the community, whether they be attendees or other artists or even the odd celebrity that I've met here and there. I have a couple of stories about that, but you don't want to hear about this. You don't want to hear me meeting famous people.
Like Nichelle Nichols.
Yeah. All right, I'll tell the Nichelle Nichols story. All right, this is going to be it, and then we'll leave it. Okay. All right, so this is 2014, if I remember correctly. I was at a show in Alton, Pennsylvania. It was roughly, I believe, around Thanksgiving. And it was a smaller show. It's not like super small, but everybody was kind of bunched in at this venue. And Nichelle Nichols was the big name guest from Star Trek. For those who I have to tell that Nichelle Nichols is from Star Trek and played Lieutenant.
That's sad.
Played Lieutenant Uhura.
You're on the internet. Google.
Yeah, go look it up. But I was about 4 or 5 feet away, I guess. And she was, we had a good amount of people come on through. At the time, I had like a little mini treasure box, and I would put my books in there, and I have stuff, nice little display thing for my books to be there. And Nichelle Nichols had security, which was basically some Klingon fan group, Klingon Defense Force, Local 524, or whatever it was, and at one point, one of them came over, which I called him Klingon Santa Claus, because that's what he looked like to me. And he comes on over and, excuse me, Miss Nichols wants to know how much for your little treasure trust thing over there. And I'm like, that seems weird to me. At one end, I've had it for a long time, like 20 years, and I had a little bit of sentimental attachment to it. But on the other hand, I can part with it, but I don't want to give it away for free or anything like that. So I said $15, which is probably $10 more than it was worth. And I expect the conversation to be closed. And then literally 5 minutes later, the same Klingon appears with 5 crisp new $5 bills in his hand, lays them on the table, is like, "Here you go, sir." And I'm like, okay. And then I hand it off, and I'm like, I'm not processing fully what's going on at this point. And a voice in my head is like, dude, you should have totally got a picture with her. Like, and I'm like, I don't usually like ooh and go. I don't go to get pictures of celebrities and stuff. I'm there to make money. Anytime I go and so and even think about it, it's like, the water bill's due in 3 days. It's like, are you gonna really spend that? Like, you grocery
Red Stewart boy.
Red, yeah, Red Stewart boy. Um, but I go and I ask, excuse me, would you mind if I took a picture? Because I think in a couple hours, I'm not going to believe any of this happened. And I would like to have some documentation.
It's freaking Michelle Nichols.
And the guy goes, oh, sure, honey, you come over here and sit down. And I sat down, I got the picture. It was great. Again, I don't do celebrity photo things, big outs and pictures and all that, because if you get something out of it, great. That's awesome. But for me, and again, I qualify this for me and me alone.
Also for me.
Yeah, it's not. It feels very fabricated. It feels very
Curated.
It feels
unnatural.
Homogenized, I guess.
That's a good.
Assembly line is also another a good term to use in this situation.
Hi there. Hi, I love your work. Let's take a picture.
Next.
Click.
Yeah. If I meet a celebrity, I want it to be, anybody, I want it to be a natural and organic way. I want something where a cool story comes out of it that's unique to me and unique to that situation.
Yeah, last year I met Steve Fish, who's like a comics creator. She's written a couple of novels. People outside the comics world don't know her, but I was a big fan of her webcomic, and I made a complete ass out of myself when I met her and her wife. So that was fun for me.
Yeah. But like I said, I want to run into them randomly and have some sort of some kind of conversation that's unique to us.
Yeah.
Again, it's not like.
Also last year, Jim Cummings was a guest at the show, the same show, and he was walking around late Sunday, I think it was. There wasn't a lot of people left, and he came over and he was talking to Dan about his signs and stuff. That was pretty cute. He seems super nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm totally cool with meeting celebrities that way. That's not me not wanting to pay them. I want that. They're coming all the way here. They should make some money for their time that's spent there.
Absolutely.
It's not that. It's just for me. If I meet anybody, I want it to be in a very organic, natural way. Like I meet anybody.
Alternatively, my friend Nay tried to meet John Cleese at one of these meet and greets, and he was a total dick to her.
Yeah.
She's black. I think that might have something to do with it, but fuck you, John Cleese. Anyway.
Yeah,
it's like, so it's not always a good, it's always a good thing.
Some celebrities are people, some of them are bad, some of them are good. And most of them range the circuit of that dichotomy. But like I said, for me, that was one of the more memorable celebrity things. And I don't usually go and pay for celebrity meet and greets and autographs and all that stuff. It's not that I don't want them to make money. It's not that I don't think they're not an important part of the show.
Absolutely.
It's a personal thing for me. It's like I want to meet you in a cool, interesting way that is indicative to you organically. You and me being involved in the experience. I don't want it to be something that's, like you said, curated and assembly lined up.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my celebrity story. I have other ones.
But as far as conventions go, we actually met at a convention.
Yes.
Years before we started seeing each other, 8 years or something before we started seeing each other. Because I was engaged to someone else. He was tabling at the first Sci-Fi Valley Con, and I've mentioned that a few times. That's the local show around here. Mm-hmm. The very first one we went to, I was super excited that there was a convention around, and and my friend Nay, who I just mentioned had the run with John Cleese, she and I were walking around the floor, and we ended up at Dan's table. She struck up a conversation with him, but I was afraid to say anything because he looked grumpy. But at the time, I was trying to. No, yeah, you look grumpy. And I was like, I don't want to say anything. He's going to yell at me. Little did I know. And so, like, I was trying
You're
to.
on by lawn, dadnabbit.
Yeah, I was trying to use social media to connect the network with artists, comic artists especially. So I found him on Facebook and I friended him. And then, yeah, that was the story.
Yeah.
And then 8 years later, he started flirting with me. And a couple of months after that, I realized he was flirting with me. And I started flirting back. It took a bit. In fact, somebody that we mutually know had to mention that he was flirting with me before I realized it. So, yeah, I'm a little thick.
We're both thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I know I totally don't recognize other people are like, oh, yeah, like, because they like it. No, they.
Yeah. So now our friend Brett is trying to talk us into getting married at Richmond Comicon at the show, which honestly, it would kind of work.
I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married at work. Seems
Oh,
weird.
that's a good point. That's a good point. But plus, I mean, is my family really going to drive down to Virginia? No.
Get married at a cool barbecue place.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have to find one first.
So there will be no. We just have like a giant bed. We'll have to wear just. These are rentals. We gotta have a bed by tomorrow.
Yeah, but anyway, so I think that's about all.
That's about it.
Yep.
The celebrity thing cut off there. We forgot. That was a good celebrity story.
Yeah.
So that's it from us. We need to get dinner now.
So you're gonna be out of town on Friday, heading to Southern Maryland.
Yep.
So I'm gonna be winging it again for the wrestling supplemental. I'll find something to talk about because SmackDown, I ended up in a sleep coma for 10 hours right when SmackDown was coming on because I was exhausted. So I've seen very little of it. I saw a couple of bits that Dan showed me on YouTube, but so yeah, I'll be soloing on Friday, solo Sakoaing on Friday.
Yeah.
But hey, all right, we'll see you guys next time.
Yay!
All right, we're gone. Bye.
Bye.